Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
My name is S.M. Gibson, and this is Anti-Media Radio, your alternative to the mainstream agenda and the corporate narrative. It is September the 1st, 2015, and we have a huge show for you tonight. Later on in the program, we will have a very special guest. We talk about him quite often on the program, Mr. Vermin Supreme, who is running for president of the United States of America. If you want a free pony, he is your candidate. If you really want freedom other than anything, he is your candidate. Joined in the studio, as always, by the magnificent producer, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, how are you doing?
Oh, God, I'm so excited. I'm like a 3-year-old girl, like, fixing to get some free candy. You know, you know the little machines in the front of the supermarket that dispense the bubble gum and the little plastic. I'm like a kid with like a pocket full of quarters right now. This is going to be the most awesome show ever.
It's going to be epic. Going to go ahead and jump into some statistics real quick that the corporate media does not report. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday here on Anti-Media Radio. 797 Americans have been killed so far by police officers this year alone. 105 people were killed by police officers just in the month of August. 4 people have been killed so far just in September. It's September the 1st, and there's already 4 people been killed by police officers. The reverse of that stat, 83 officers have been killed or died, should I say, in the line of duty. That includes 24 officers that have died from gunfire, 22 officers that have died from automobile accidents, and 13 of those are from heart attacks. So it's not always a violent scene when an officer passes away. The American ally, they're great friends, Saudi Arabia, you know.
Our buddies.
Our big buddies, yeah.
We're buddies.
Great friends.
Facebook friends.
They are. They're still Facebook friends. They want to befriend each other. 129 beheadings so far this year from the Saudi Arabian government. Also, another stat that is just sick and twisted, the Saudi-led and U.S.-backed war that's going on right now in Yemen that you don't really hear about it on the mainstream.
We don't hear about it, but we're definitely paying for it.
That's the truth. So far, since March the 26th, this is when these numbers count, 2,112 deaths of civilians. Civilians. We're not talking about militants. We're not talking about insurgents. We're talking about straight-up civilians. Over 2,100 civilians have died in Yemen because of Saudi-led strikes and aggression.
And they're not using cluster. Oh, wait a minute. They are using.
Oh, they are. 4,500 casualties.
Are we supposed to use cluster bombs? No, we're not. Okay. Yeah.
4,500 injuries as well. So there's like 6,600 casualties, I guess, all the way around as far as injuries combined with deaths.
I think you're making too much out of this. I mean, they're missing an arm or a leg. They're still alive.
Wow.
You don't need an arm or a leg, do you?
Absolutely, absolutely
Not
sick.
using cluster bombs, I'm pretty sure of it.
Absolutely sick and twisted. And these are the governments that we choose to align with. Also, as far as gun control goes, we have Chicago to look at to see how their numbers are doing. They have some pretty strict gun laws. 1,959 people have been shot so far this year in the city of Chicago, 329 homicides just in the month of August, which just ended yesterday. 296 people were shot and 54 homicides in Chicago. That's it. This is going to kind of lead us into the big event of the night with Vermin Supreme, Mr. Presidential Candidate, coming on here in a little bit. I want to run over a story real fast that we have on the antimedia.org about...
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Who's this?
Hey.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
What up?
What's up?
Who is this?
Well, you calling into UCY?
Did you? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Are you trying to call into the UCY?
Yeah, we're on the air right now with Anti-Media Radio.
Who's this?
I'm Ron Stevens. I do Game On.
So, anyway, sorry about that. Little cross calls. That's happened a couple of times here before. But
anyways, going back to the story out of Kansas.
We have voting fraud, what it looks like going on in Kansas. But this is really nothing new. Voting fraud has been going on for quite some time around the country. And real quick, here's the details of this story. There is a lady by the name of Beth Clarkson. She is the chief statistician for Wichita State's National Institute for Aviation Research. And she said that she has noticed results for the past several elections, and they don't add up.
Really?
So she is now suing the state of Kansas to examine the voter tapes, which, though, that doesn't mean that she can examine all the records, because a lot of these records are done completely electronic and there really are no records. Mm-hmm. So
a lot easier to manipulate the outcome if that's the case.
Very
right?
true. There's no paper trail. And the crazy thing is Diebold, which is the company that makes these electronic machines, the majority of these electronic machines, should I say, for these elections, they also make ATM machines, which always have a paper trail. There's always a way to audit the system, but when they're doing voting, there is no system in place to audit, which is absolutely terrifying that they don't even allow you to go back and check the results through some sort of manual process. Mm-hmm. For everybody out there listening, I highly recommend that you watch. There's 3 documentaries that I recommend. Is one we talked about many a times. Let's see here. See if you can having a little bit of difficulty here on the line.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, let's see. We're going to try to clean this up real quick before we get back to what's going on here in the news. Okay.
Calling all of y'all, it's a sabotage.
They telling you, man. Where's the Beastie Boys when you need them? So anyway, we're talking about elections being hijacked, overthrown. It's absolutely disgusting. But there's 3 documentaries that I highly recommend that you listen or watch. Is Hacking Democracy is one of them, which we've talked about on this show a lot. The second is Murder, Spies, and Voting Lies, the Clint Curtis story. And the third is Uncounted. So what we're talking about is, please go and check out these documentaries. And this is something way bigger than what's happening in Kansas. We see the establishment not wanting to be set up to be, what's the word I'm looking for here? The establishment doesn't want to set themselves up to be vulnerable in any way, shape, or form, whether it be through voting, whether it be through any kind of process. That the establishment definitely does not want to set themselves up to be vulnerable. Speaking of the anti-establishment, we promised you, we've talked about this gentleman here for, almost 2 months now. We love him. We love his message. If you're an American and you want a free pony, or you are terrified of the zombie apocalypse, which could happen, or you're just sick of the government altogether, there's really two.
I think that's every person listening right now. I can't disagree with anything you just said.
There's really 2 candidates running, okay? There's a candidate running that has a boot on his head, and all the other candidates which want to put a boot up your you-know-what.
Your ass. Yeah,
that's what we're
call
dealing
it what
with.
it is.
That's what we're dealing with. So, the magnificent, the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, Vermin Supreme. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hello there, sir. I'd like to thank you for your very kind words and your very kind introduction. And I am indeed very well this beautiful, beautiful evening. It's almost lunchtime in America, and I can feel it in my bones.
Excellent.
It is. So, I tell you what, you've got a couple of things going on here, but I really want to start off.
Let's talk about the big thing first off. Vermin Supreme for President 2016. I've been saying it for months now. Everybody looks at me crazy when I say it. And then here we are at the 1st of September watching Fox and CNN and all the other crap that's slung on the TV screen. It's all about Donald Trump now. Mr. Supreme,
if I had $1 billion, sir, if I had $1 billion, that would be me, for sure. And, of course, that brings me up to the campaign 2016, and I believe that things are going according and right behind schedule and according to no plan whatsoever. But things are looking very, very good at this point from my perspective. The groundswell of support, the juggernaut is truly picking up some steam slowly but surely. I will admit it has been a bit of a struggle getting my campaign on track. As you can imagine, it's primarily in some form an imaginary construct, one of whimsy and fantasy. And this election year, the people have been clamoring and they have demanding it to be brought more into reality. And so this very fact of bringing it into a new level of actually turning it into a campaign for existence. In prior years, I had no need for a campaign bank account or a treasurer or a campaign staff or any of these things. I had no need for any of these things because it was simply me saying that I was running and friends watching my back and this amazingly wide and very shallow base of support that I have. But this year, obviously in 2012, things got very exciting, and the internet seemed to pick up on me and went all viral and crazy things of that, and became a human meme, as it were. And so this go-round, it seems to me that my base, my supporters, are expecting a certain level of upping the ante, if you will. And so I thought to myself, how can I possibly up the ante to bring the American people the ponies they so richly deserve? And I looked out and I saw some low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit that I have my eye on is Federal Election Commission federal matching funds. And essentially, this is a publicly funded campaign service that the Federal Election Commission offers presidential candidates like myself. And what it entails is if you can reach the threshold of $1,000 in each of 20 states, they will double that. So that's a pretty amazing goal that I am shooting for. Once again, I have very high hopes. I have reasonable expectations, and nobody has really convinced me that it's not doable. And many people are feeding into my delusion, and I find that a very encouraging thing indeed. And so it has been a good long time, but I do have my treasury and bank account and other things in place. In previous years, I had no need for such things. But this year, because I'm going legit, if you will, in an attempt to access all this money, which I would have to really completely piss away during the primary process. I mean, it would have to be all spent on legitimate campaign expenses. It doesn't go towards me. It doesn't go towards my rent or anything like that. No, it goes towards ponies. And let me tell you this right now, friends, that each state that reaches the goal of raising the $5,000 in that state, each and every contributor will be entered in a raffle, and they will be entered in a raffle for their free pony. That's right, friends. I will be giving away a free pony in each state that raises that money, and I will be using that money to engage in a presidential primary tour. Every state that kicks down a chunk of change, I will do my best to go there and harass the presidential candidates on that turf at that time.
Hell yeah. Oh, man, this is awesome.
It's wonderful.
I do have to ask one question, though, really quick.
Yes,
Are
sir.
your emails going to be available to the public?
I sincerely doubt it, but my tweets certainly are.
Sweet.
Hey, that's acceptable.
I'm down with that. I don't think you can see Hillary's tweets.
And I tell you what, I really think this is the day and age for Americans to get behind a candidate such as yourself.
I think so. There are other candidates. There are over 700 people who have registered with the FEC to run for president of America, and I think that's a very good thing. I think it's a very, very encouraging thing. I believe that it's just an amazing testament to the dreamers in America, to people who believe strongly enough that they have a vision that they want to share with America, or if they just want to tell their friends that they're running for president. There are 4 cats who have registered. I've been advising the campaign staff over at Sydney's Voluptuous Buttocks, a real candidate that was registered. And, of course, recently Dee's Nuts has registered and received quite a bit of support. The main difference, of course, is that I am a real person, an actual person, and the name that I use is the name that goes on the ballot. And so I think that is what differentiates me from other protest or quote-unquote joke candidates, if you will.
Well, I'll tell you this. There is a quote you mentioned in 2012 when you started garnering a lot of support, and the Internet just kind of blew up with a lot of the stuff you were saying. There was a quote of you, and you were actually on CNN saying this. Between the cops and the protesters, there's a vacuum, and that is the space that I occupy.
That is very true. In addition to my farcical presidential ambitions, another place that I really enjoy providing public service is indeed in the First Amendment arena of free assemblies and things of the protest nature. And, I've essentially carved out that space between the protesters and the police and have developed a technique that involves essentially trying to talk down the cops and talk down the protesters sometimes, or sometimes to get them fired up. It all depends on the circumstances, of course. But by being a voice of calm reason in these different situations, because but sometimes when you're at these hairy demonstrations and there's this space between the protesters and the police, there's a void and a vacuum, if you will. And vacuums always get filled one way or another. And I have found that by interjecting myself, a voice of reason, if you will, I've been able to anecdotally cut down on situations that may have turned bad.
Now you speak of like a joke candidacy and all that situation, but we just had a 15-year-old kid from Iowa that just put D's nuts on the ballot and got 9% from a poll in the state of North Carolina.
I see what you did there at Paul.
Right.
That's a great thing. And once again, I mean, there are a lot of funny names on there, and I personally think that any funny name that was included in that poll probably would have done very similar. I think
there's a lot of funny
main
names,
victory
though,
for...
but you're somebody that's been on the ground for years doing this. This isn't your first rodeo.
Oh, no. I'm assuming just because D's nuts is just hilarious. I mean, how could you... if you were that pollster and you had to choose, one name to go up against those candidates, I think the choice was pretty clear. I think in that instance they may have made that was the right choice. I don't begrudge him or D's nuts, but I do imagine that if it was my name in there or any other name that was funny, it probably would have polled similarly.
But you want to talk about D's nuts for a moment? Listeners need to know that Vermin Supreme in 2006 donated a kidney to his mother. That's balls right there.
That's very true. That's a fact. Now, there has been some misconceptions that I advocate mandatory kidney donations for all Americans, and that's only partially true, of course. Now, I'd also like to talk because I did mention that I am trying to raise these crazy funds. The kickoff for my entire fundraising operations starts Labor Day weekend, and there is a fine group of folks up in Croydon, New Hampshire, at the Bardo Project and Bardo Farms. They are some people that I met up at the Libertarian Forum, the Libertarian event up in New Hampshire last year, and they were very fun people. They knew me. I looked down at their table, and on one side of the table they had maple syrup, and so they comped me some maple syrup, and then they also had these very large rifles that they had built. They also have a gunsmithing thing that they do on the side. And they invited me to come and have an event at their farm, and we are doing that, and we have a whole bunch of bands and all sorts of random wackiness planned, and that is this weekend. And we will also be live simulcasting it, which I didn't think we were going to be able to pull off, but it seems that it will be. And so if you go to Vermin Supreme 2016, I think that's where the information will be, or it will be on my darn Facebook page. And, of course, you got to find my personal one because there's so many Vermin Supreme pages that people have put up there in tribute, which is a beautiful thing. And
people can also, by the way, find your Facebook page. Right now, there is a meme that went up on the Anti-Media Facebook page about little less than an hour ago that'll link you to his Facebook page as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Make it easy for the viewers. And if you have a few moments, I'd love to present. I'll give a quick list of the bands. We have. Where'd they go? Oh darn! I'm looking. I've got too many screens open on my computer here. I'm sure you've been there. Let's see. Saturday, we got the delegates arriving. We have goat milking demonstrations. We have a pig castration exhibitions. We're going to have bunny petting. We're going to discuss animal husbandry. We've got a telethon. We have telethon host. We have JoJo and the decaffeinated sex dog. We've got Josh Cole and the feeling detective. We've got Gary Shane and the detours. Rod Weber, who is also known as Flower Man. He's been handing out a lot of flowers to the candidates up in New Hampshire. We've got a band called Analog Heart. On Sunday, we've got yoga in the morning. We've got calisthenics. We've got tours of the farm. We've got the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have the Free American Pony Party Convention, also the Free American Pony Party, known as FAP, of course. We're going to be playing Duck, Duck, Goose. We're going to be playing Red Rover, Red Light, Green Light, Mother May I. We're going to have a soapbox. That night we have Jason Bennett and the Resistance, Black Soul Seraphim, Dead Harrison, Solo Sex. During the weekend, we'll be screening my documentaries, Vote Jesus from 2010, when I went undercover as a right-wing fundamentalist presidential candidate. It was
awesome film, by the way. Highly recommended.
Thank you. You're very kind. And, of course, on Sunday we'll be showing the Who is Vermin Supreme, the recent documentary that was made by filmmaker Steve Derek about my career as it is, whatever the hell you might want to define it as. Many people call it different things.
I tell you what, before you read what you have to read real quick.
Okay, well, I don't have to read it now.
You do. You do have to. I'm making you do it.
Okay. I mean, I want to read it.
No, you have to.
Okay.
Whatever message you have for the American people needs to be heard on this program tonight.
Okay, because this is something very important. It might blow these nuts out of the water.
Oh, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen tonight. Is we're going to take all that 9% away, and it's going to go to Vermin Supreme tonight.
Oh, and we're going to triple it.
It's going to happen.
Triple it. Tonight on this show, we're going to triple it.
It's going to happen. So, you discussed the ponies in the past. What do you think?
It is, of course, the federal pony identification system. You must have your pony with you. What
are you going to do to the people that reject the ponies and don't want the ponies?
I'll be addressing that in my remarks shortly. That's it's part of one of the events that I will be presenting is I will be reading from my dystopic future novella called Love During the Time of Ponies, and it's a story set in the future long after my presidency. And essentially, the story is it's a warning to people in the present day against electing me because of the horrible repercussions that may occur in the future.
So I tell you what, real quick also, I'm going to give you the floor here in just 1 second. You've discussed many times about zombie preparedness and getting ready for that. What about the robots that are on the rise, which we had an actual real story yesterday on the antimedia.org about robots saying that, they want to kill people and make them slaves.
Put them in a people's zoo. I really like that.
No, I read that story. It was the Philip K. Dick robot. They programmed it with all of Philip K. Dick's stories and interviews, so it was ultimately programmed to sort of respond as Philip K. Dick might. And I believe it was more of a quote. I don't think he was threatening violence against humans. It seemed more like he was going to treat the people in his people's zoo very nicely. As long as you're going to treat the people nicely, I mean, who am I to complain?
You heard it here first.
I for one, welcome our robot overlords.
Vermin Supreme supports the robot overlords and the people zoo. You heard it here first.
I'm down with it.
I love it. Mr. Supreme, future President Supreme, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Fellow Americans, prick up your ears. Join us now as we mount a campaign to thrust our glands into the highest orifice in the land. The Cocktail Wiener Party is excited to present the feel-good candidate of the new century, a candidate guaranteed to satisfy, who will get your juices flowing. He will have you on your knees in thanks. See Dick. See Dick run. Run, Dick, run! Yes, friends, Dick Head is a throbbing tower of strength, a pillar of rigid righteousness. Dick Head is a glands with a plan, swollen with pride in America. Dick Head is engorged with the determination and single-mindedness to enter the 23rd century head on. Won't you come with us? Yes, Dick Head has been boning up and has a firm grasp on policy issues. Let us get something straight between us. Dick Head has a real appreciation of how hard it is and how hard it can be for the working stiff. Dick Head will never treat the voters like sheep. Dick Head will never jerk you around. America, you're a nation. Don't muff it. Yes, Dick Head is a candidate with real common sense. Dick Head is a candidate who can make a real vast deference. Dick Head is a candidate who will not piss into the wind. Yes, Dick Head can offer stiff competition to those other weenies who should be hung, but they're not. Bend over political hacks and take it like a man. There is a new cock on the walk who is going to beat you off like a drum. Dickhead wants nothing to do with soft money. Dickhead wants to stick it to special interest groups. Dickhead will be real hard on real crime. Dickhead will reform the penal code. Dickhead will stimulate the economy. Dickhead endorses bigger family values. Dickhead will foster intercourse between nations. So let us sow the seeds today for a future of golden showers tomorrow. All we are saying is give Head a chance. So come on and meet the candidate. Give him a hand. Put your money where your mouth is and taste the difference. Help Dick Head get over the hump. Yes, you are what you eat. And help us ride Dickhead all the way to the White House and into the anus of history. Dickhead, he's behind you 100%. Direct, Dickhead. The penis is meatier than the sword. Dickhead 2016.
Absolutely.
Dickhead will be the fictitious candidate that I will be registering with the Federal Election Commission very shortly. So that will be giving these nuts and Sydney's voluptuous buttocks quite the run for their money.
You will still be Mr. Vermin Supreme on the ticket as well, I assume.
That is correct. That is correct. Dickhead is just a notion that I thought if these nuts was going to go that way, I thought America was obviously ready for Dickhead.
Well, I
think we've already had that, though.
We've gotten a taste of that with the Trump campaign.
It's much like
him.
Dickhead wins every campaign, much like Vermin Supreme wins every campaign.
How do you feel? Like you started this, I guess, back in the mid-90s or mid-80s? Mid-80s.
Yes, sir. 87 was my first mayoral campaign.
Okay, and you started this, and to see where the theater and the art behind what you do, and now we have candidates leading in the polls that have that theater, except it's with such vitriol and hate and just this crassness that's real in their voice of hate.
That is very unfortunate, and I believe that obviously a big chunk of my success, if you will, is due to the non-partisan nature of my presentation. When I made my stand at that debate, the things that I said were certainly an indictment of the overall system, but they weren't attacking any particular politician or party, for that matter. And as a result of that, the people who enjoyed it and grokked it and got it spanned the political spectrum. So I have supporters spanning from hard left-leaning social anti-capitalist anarchists to hard right ANCAPs, and just everything in between. And so that's a very interesting position that I find myself in. And sometimes I have to deal with some of the repercussions. Occasionally all of a sudden there's a racist commenting on my Facebook page, and I go to their page to check them out, and they're big fans of mine. They've liked all my pages. And, that's a very strange position for me to be in, to have people who like me, who I very seriously disagree with. And I think when I made the movie Vote Jesus, I think that helped quite a bit, put me in a frame of mind where I could sort of deal with that. Because I was dealing with so many what I perceive to be reprehensible, flat-out wrong, and horrible individuals, right-wing fundamentalists. I just had to pretend that they were my relatives at the family dinner. They're the ones that you don't want to get started on politics. You can still love them, you can still appreciate them, but God help you, just don't get them started on the politics, and don't let them open their mouth. And if they do, you either have to call them on their shit or let it roll. And so that part's been very interesting.
Well, and I do have to ask though, because it is kind of curious. You have run as a Republican and as a Democrat in years past.
Yes, Dino or Rhino. It's really a flag of convenience.
Absolutely.
Either party does not reflect my allegiance, which is, of course, ultimately to the Free American Pony Party, or FAP, as it's known.
What set you off, I guess, in '87 that you just said, okay, I've had enough, I'm throwing both hands up, and I'm doing this?
The funny thing about my first campaign in '87, mayor of Baltimore, was that it wasn't particularly political. There was really zero political motivation behind it. At the time I was in that town, I was just looking for something to do, a project that would keep that I thought was interesting, and I just pulled that one out of my ass drinking beer one day at my local pub. I just said, hell, that'll do it. I'll just say I'm running for mayor, and that will be that, and I'll do it. Of course, I sort of fried out on the town and left the town, and I was out of the town and ended up going back there almost a year later, simply because I had committed myself to running for mayor. Did a month-long drug study in Boston to get the money for the printing, the computer typeset printing, because there was no Kinko's back then, so I had to have the shit printed. but really it was just something to do, and then I did have commentary. I mean, it was satirical commentary on politics, and it's where I first threw out the mandatory toothbrushing law. That whole concept is that old, and I've been plugging away on these issues for many years, and it seems to have taken quite a long while for the public or all to catch up to it. In 2008, I was on my way to the lesser-known candidates debate up in New Hampshire, the very one where I 4 years later glitter bombed Randall Terry there. And there was a blizzard that came in, and it prevented me from getting there. But it very much worked out into my favor, so that when I did finally make it there in 2012, those 4 years made a world of difference in terms of, Obama was more than 4 years in, so all the people who were loving Obama in 2008 were not loving him so much in 2012. So there's that that disillusionment, that disgruntlement of the youth, which certainly plays towards me. Not great for democracy or America or whatever, but it's good for me. In that time also, there was the whole meme of the wizard, the Gandalf, and the Harry Potter wizards, and all these things came into being. So and it also gave me 4 years to grow out my beard, it took years for it to get awesome, huge, and white, And of course, people who are older-looking wingnuts, they seem to have more gravitas than younger wingnuts, perhaps. You see some younger wingnut on the street; they're easily to dismiss. Matthew Silverson. I mean, people I love that do great stuff, but people look at them, they're just hippie or whatever. But when it's an older dude, it says something more. I don't know what, but
wisdom and experience.
It does.
Yes.
It exudes a wisdom that the rest of us do not have.
Yeah, the boot, and of course the damn boot. I mean, shit. I mean, I wear a boot, and that just has drawn more attention.
Now, where did the boot come from?
Ultimately, it was just a thing that I put on my head. It was a rainy day one day, and I had my galoshes. I was going to put them on my feet, but I put one on my head instead, and I walked around, and my head stayed dry, and my one foot stayed dry, and my other foot got wet, of course. But the people really liked it, and so I started wearing it on a more public basis, and it just became associated with my candidacy for many years. So it obviously works. I mean, it's drawn more. 700 people running for president, and for some reason, I get a lot more attention than probably most of them. Once again, a sad indictment on the media and the politics and all that, and pop culture and all that crap. But I've managed to find this little tiny crack in the wall that I've been able to work for these many years to amplify my political free speech a lot louder and a lot. I've gone a lot further than I ever suspected. If it wasn't for the boot, if it wasn't for the ridiculous platform, it would just be some crank on the street, like ranting and raving about this, that, or the other thing, very easily to dismiss. But because I've taken it to a level of such absurdity and hyperbole and such, just people seem to really enjoy it, and so it's worked. That's all I know.
Well, I do have to ask though, because you're talking about your frivolous campaign platform. Here's one thing that's not frivolous. Is one of the things that you've been quoted as saying over the years is that you champion a government that's completely dismantled. That the first thing you're going to do when you get to the White House is actually slowly start to dismantle the government as we know it. And
after everybody gets their pony. After everybody has their pony.
After everybody has their ponies, of course. That'll be your last government act. Government.
You don't need government after everybody has their ponies.
Absolutely. I love his energy policy as well. You get the pony, then you get the pony poop, and you get the methane gas from it, and so on and so forth.
It solves a lot of problems.
And it very slyly interjects a conversation about energy. And where
ponies create American jobs. Ponies will revitalize America. Ponies are a green transportation solution. Ponies produce usable methane gas. Ponies will lower our dependence on foreign oil. Ponies create an abundant source of pony-based fertilizers. Ponies are the future of America. Ponies are a viable currency for goods and services. Ponies have little tiny carbon hoof prints. Ponies are a renewable resource. Ponies are nice. Ponies are recyclable. Ponies are cute. Ponies are delicious. Thank you. I'm Vermin Supreme. I support this message.
How do you
That's
argue
it.
with that?
Like, how can you? How does
You're a
anybody
complete
argue?
asshole if you don't like a pony. So therein,
Well,
you're a
that's
complete
not
asshole
true.
if you don't love Vermin Supreme.
Remember the
I'm just
episode?
saying.
There was an episode of Seinfeld that they were pretty obnoxious about people that had ponies growing up. But I think what Vermin Supreme wants us to do is to go beyond that. We want to get beyond the pony version of Jim Crow laws, where we look down on the ponies and we accept the ponies for what they are.
So true. May I read a bit from my which I will also read at Vermin Festival, and it is as follows. The goal was laudable: to provide a pony to every single American citizen, to create a world in which every American, regardless of age, race, creed, or income, was free to frolic and cuddle with their very own pony companion. Yes, the transition to a full pony-based economy was not an easy one. There were some grumblers, pony haters in the beginning. There were those that screamed, big government. These malcontents had been dealt with swiftly and harshly. Many pundits argued that it would never work. They were sent to the work camps to be shown otherwise. They were impediments to the new utopia, examples of the dangers of old thinking. Speed bumps in a world that had no use for speed bumps any longer. To create a new world omelet, you have got to break some eggs. Everybody prospered under the new pony-based economy. The discipline of ponynomics became a required course for the bestest and the brightest. It was, of course, the federal pony identification system. Citizens were required to possess their ponies at all times. One of the first acts of the new Supreme administration was the abolition of Congress. It was replaced with the High Council of Internet Memes as a decision-making body. Of course, this was totally unconstitutional and stupid idea. However, at that time in American history, dissent had all but disappeared. The Supreme Court had become a literal rubber stamp. The fact that all voting occurred on the Internet gave a whole lot of weight to the premise that individuals that had gone viral and become Internet famous were best equipped to represent the citizenry, having received so many viral votes, as it were. They also were cheap, much cheaper than the old Congress. The Federal Reserve was quickly nationalized, with the Council of Internet Memes seizing the reins of monetary policy. It was just as quickly renamed the Federal Pony Reserve. If fiat currency was to be issued, it needed to be backed by something. Ponies were the perfect medium of exchange. There were growing pains during the transition times. The Great Pony Bubble and the subsequent crash that almost totally ruined what was left of the American economy was a case in point. As Lord Supreme so accurately predicted, once we have universal pony ownership, we will have equity in the ponies that we own. Once we have universal pony equity, we will be able to borrow against it. Once we have established pony-based debt, we can create pony credit default swaps and AAA pony bond markets and such. We are going to have a huge pony bubble in the economy, and we all know that bubbles are great in the economy at that time. This bubble, however, is going to be reinforced and steel-belted and last forever. Truly a beautiful economic vision. Sadly, the Federal Pony Reserve was not quite up to the task.
Wow.
I mean, really, like, we're talking about D's nuts, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Hillary Clinton.
They don't stand a chance.
They don't.
No, I think their plans, their visions are just not real.
We know what their plans are. We've been down that road. We've done it.
We've been over that table time and time and time
We have.
again.
Yes, the cliff I'm going to take you over is going to be a whole lot of fun.
You know, we did some research, obviously, before the show about some of your life, and we thought it was very interesting that you're from Gloucester, or you graduated from Gloucester High School.
That is true.
In Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts. We recently did a story on Anti-Media and also talked about it on the radio show about the local police department there, which now have some of the most compassionate drug laws in the nation. If elected president, what is your stance on legalization of drugs or illegalization of drugs or decriminalization of marijuana? Where do you stand on all that?
You know I'm all for that stuff. You know it.
We know, but it was definitely
I may have to take a hard line now and again, you know. But, well, it's for your own good, of course.
Of course.
for your own safety.
That's a white line, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, we must think of the children, please, and we got to keep those gateways closed. Yes, of course.
But okay.
But no, I totally applaud the Gloucester police chief. Finally taking a sensible process. In fact, they just hit their 100th person who came in out of the addiction cycle to turn themselves in, as it were, and you can do that when you're not going to be arrested. It's a lot easier to say, here I am, I need help, than here I've done a few things against the law, throw me in jail. It's truly a much more sensible way to get people to seek the help that they might need to get out of addiction. Of course, my libertarian leanings say, I mean, shit, if you want to do that sort of thing, well, okay, go ahead then. But once again, it's for a lot of people, it's hell. I mean, that's a very hellacious situation to be in, and I think we do need to give, offer our assistance and help and mutual aid to, anybody who we can help, who wants the help, who needs the help, things like that stuff. Yeah, sure. But may I read a little bit more from my novella, please?
You most certainly
Go
can.
for it.
You have the floor, sir.
You got it.
Okay, I'm not trying to. Should I read the first bit or the last bit? Let's see. I'll read a little bit of the exciting part. Okay. This is actually the opening. So it goes. I'll read like a little bit of the ending. Okay. So here we go. Jagged details worn away. The worst of times were all but a fuzzy-wuzzy, gauzy-wazzy, far-away memory. It was almost as if they had never existed, a dream. It was as if a bureaucrat had stuffed the historical fact into some office memory hole shredder in order to create confetti for a fictitious new hero's ticker tape parade. But these here times now, these were the best time. All thumbs up, number one, a triple plus, all the best times of all the best times, all rolled into one and then some. The mediocre of times, well, they were so mediocre that they had made no memorable impression whatsoever. There was much happily and merriment among the citizenry, a tsunami of contentment waterboarded over all the good faces of all the good peoples. It was indeed the bestest of all the times. LOL, a Big 10-4, that is for sure, good buddies. Nothing quite like it. Totally and truly the bestest of all the times. Seriously, it was bitchin'. There was no doubt about it. It was truly definitely the undisputed best of all the times. Public opinion poll after public opinion poll agreed. Scientific survey after scientific survey confirmed it to be true. Common wisdom dictated. Anybody who said otherwise was just itching for a fight. The air was clean. Alfalfa grew everywhere. The chirping of songbirds filled the air. The sweet scent of pony pee tickled one's nostrils. Pony dust and dander danced in the sunbeams. Fluttering butterflies frolicked with unicorns under rainbow skies. By unicorns, of course, it was meant ponies that had had a horn surgically implanted into their forehead. Lab unicorns were still a long way away. The only known prototypes of lab unicorns had turned out to be frightening mutants. The beautiful rainbows that crisscrossed across the skies were just the latest and most colorful blend of incredible chemtrail technology. Geoengineering had never been so wonderfully prismatic, literally gorgeous. The butterflies were not real butterflies, of course. Butterflies having reached extinction long ago. No one alive today had ever seen a real one. These butterflies were little mini recon spy drones. They sure were pretty. They mimicked the living butterflies' movements of flight very well. The sound of the songbirds were synthesized from speakers mounted in the artificial trees. Needless to say, there were no songbirds. War and famine had been eradicated, completely eradicated. Well, maybe not eradicated exactly, maybe not eradicated at all, I guess. When you get right down to it, yeah, it was more like. There really was just as much war and famine as there was before, maybe more. Industrial accidents still occurred with alarming frequency along with violent crime. At home and abroad, power plant knockdowns, workplace shootings, civil disorder, race riots, religious strife, terrorist attacks and such took place as often, if not more often than ever. Maybe sanitized would be a better word to describe the present state of affairs. The important thing was that such unpleasant realities were simply unknown to the vast majority of the population. There were no news channels anymore, that's for sure. Another brilliant directive by the High Council of Internet Memes. Thank you, High Council of Internet Memes. With no mass media constantly reminding people that everything was going to shit, they were more likely to focus on their immediate concerns. They were less likely to be depressed, neurotic, nihilistic. War and famine had been redacted, completely redacted for a better world. Although the promised weather domes were never completed, The 25-foot-high portions that were completed did act as a dandy wall with which to repel invaders. It also did a handy job of keeping the citizens in for purposes of safety. Otherwise, if you turned up missing, you might not be added to the safety statistics. If you were not added to the safety statistics, it would be a very bad thing indeed. There was certainly one thing that all could agree made these times so wonderful. Vermin Supreme had finally become president of America.
It's going to happen.
God,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen in 2016. I'm telling you.
My prediction, to be quite frank with you, my prediction is I will be in the White House in 2036. That's 20 years from this election. It's approximately 5 more election cycles. But I believe that my stock is rising steadily, and America's stock is not. And America is going downwards. I am going up, and I believe that our paths will cross in 2036.
So you're going to catch. So you're betting on the intersect. You're going to catch the intersect.
Yes. I'm just biding my time.
That's a brilliant move.
I'm in it for the long game. I'm in it for the long haul. That's the way I see it.
That's how you run a campaign right there.
Thank you. And let me read a little bit more, and then we can finish up with whatever you want. Okay, here we go. Because this is where it gets really intense, man. There were harsh political realities when President for Life Vermin I took office. At the time of his ascent to the White House, there were over 300 million Americans in America's previous borders. At that time, there were only 200,000 ponies in the whole country. It was a recipe for civil unrest. These were not just political realities. These were realities. There was a very stark choice to make. On the table, would it be the mass execution of some 299,700,000 Americans in order to achieve proper pony-human parity, or something else? It is certainly true that such a mass execution would create jobs. It would also lessen the country's dependence on foreign oil. It would be good for the environment. Although there were some drawbacks to consider, mostly they were merely questions of ethics and public relations. During this time of widespread civil unrest, all options were on the table. The dental high command was put on high alert. The dental re-education camps were readied. Homeland Dental Security coordinated with the nation's dental police departments. The militarization of America's dental police forces had been a great idea that was about to pay off in lower incidences of gum disease nationwide. There were riots in the streets of numerous cities. Pulsating water-pick cannons knocked rioters off their feet and knocked the plaque right off their teeth. The population was demanding their ponies that were nowhere in sight. It was a time of heightened international tensions. No one would have blamed Tyrant Supreme if he had ordered the National Dental Guard to carry out a full-scale massacre of the civilian population. It was high time, actually. The veneer of civility that had protected Americans from such real political unrest for quite some time was wearing thin. The quaint and oft-repeated notion that it can't happen here was truly just a lack of imagination.
See, I think that's amazing.
So that's a little bit about what America has in store for them in the future once I am elected.
But I believe fear is that me and Shannon discussed it here, and there is another candidate that's discussing named Timothy McVeigh, which represents all fear.
What is his name again?
Timothy McVeigh.
Oh my God, that's something. Okay.
So that person may or may not run, and that person is definitely discussing the policy of not just the wall on the Mexican border and of course the Canadian border, but a wall in between every single state in the United States to protect.
Genius. Consider it stolen.
Copyright.
I told you to copyright that.
Oh, I like that one. And of course, I thought that we should build, in addition to a wall, make the wall a casino. You see, therefore, this casino would not necessarily.
I think Trump on that one, though. I think he's going to do that.
It would not. Yeah, it wouldn't repel invaders. It would absorb them, and it would be this indentured servitude towards a path of citizenship, if you will.
Hey, we'll get to gamble, so that's all right.
Yeah, then of course, illegal immigrants from down south will be provided with burros or donkeys instead of ponies.
I'm
sorry. That's just the way it has to be.
That's fair.
Well, it's still all inclusive, and I think that's one of the key things we need to look at this right here. The Hispanics, African Americans, us white folks, we all need zombie preparedness. We all need free ponies. I can't believe that every single candidate hasn't stolen this idea from you already.
The funny thing is,
I think Bernie Sanders kind of has, except he calls it college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Chris Christie was offering children pony rides at the Iowa State Fair, from what I understand.
Chris Christie is not allowed near any children that I know, and I just that.
Oh man, Jared, Chris Christie. I didn't say it. You didn't say it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Subway sandwiches. This segment sponsored by Subway.
Yeah, here's your foot long.
Oh Jesus. It's that kind of radio show. Good Lord. Welcome to the Morning Drive Time Show. Yeah!
Zing! Yeah. Oh, good time.
More sound effects, obviously.
But I tell you what, good luck to you and everything. Real quick before we go, shout it out one more time about Burning Vermin. Let everybody know about that that's going on this weekend, and that is
this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's on the internet. I think Vermin Supreme 2016.com. Don't go to verminsupreme.com. It's been hijacked by porno bots, and I don't get any money from the porno links, so it's totally worthless to me. But verminsupreme2016.com. It's a money bomb. I'm starting to raise the money that I need to access more federal funds in order to buy more ponies, in order to piss away on ridiculous stunts and make a tour of the primaries. If you know when your state's primary is, I hope to be there. Maybe not on your ballot, but gosh darn it, we'll have fun together. I want to meet my base. It's all about the base.
All of my listeners right now, all of the listeners to the show need to check out Vermin Supreme. He is a legitimate candidate for President of the United States, a vastly superior choice.
I mean, it's true.
Than Trump,
it is what it is,
Hillary,
and it's true.
Bernie, screw them all, Vermin Supreme. Hey, I know you're talking about 2036, 2016. That's going to be the year it happens.
Yeah, we're going to
make it happen.
We want to save you 20 years.
Yeah.
I have high hopes, but it's a great thing. And I enjoy doing it. And the upshot is nothing but love. And I appreciate all the love from all my supporters and all your listeners. And I hope I'm worthy, and I'm going to do my best to fuck with all the other candidates. I'm going to do my best to make a spectacle, to show how ridiculous this whole mess is, and that's all I can promise. I'm going to do my best to make it interesting and fun for everyone.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you do, Mr. Vermin Supreme. You've been a blessing coming on this show. It's been absolutely incredible. We've talked about this for 2 months now. And,
well, thank you for the blow shot. That's really nice.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Hey, we're here for the reach around too.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But
and you've got our number. Please feel free to call in anytime. We absolutely loved having you. Everybody, Vermin Supreme, give it up. Give it up.
Thank you. I'll try and send the link to the live stream and all that nonsense that you could share. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time on whatever media source this might be. I know you're against the media, and so am I. So there you go.
There it is. Anti-media. There it is.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's it. You heard it. Vermin Supreme hates the media, anti-media, anti-media.
Whoop! So,
Shannon, there it is. You've been talking about it. You've been wanting it. How do you feel?
And I am certainly not disappointed by any single thing that he had to say. For all of you out there listening, if you're still halfway considering Trump, if you're halfway considering that tired old bag Hillary Clinton, any of the other ridiculous candidates from Ted Cruz to Rubio to... Does the Democratic Party have anybody else other than Hillary and Bernie running?
There's some guy named Webb.
Nah, forget him.
I tell you what, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. It was an absolutely fantastic show. Thank you to Vermin Supreme. Thank you to Shannon Madden. Nick will be here tomorrow night. We'll be back on Thursday. Anti-Media Radio out. Peace.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.